Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Horological Review. Feel free to subscribe to my channel down below as it really motivates me to make videos, and I have a lot of other great content to show you guys. Today, we'll be discussing the Rolex Submariner 14060 pre-ceramic model, and I'll be talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly. But first, let's do a wristwatch check. Today, I'm not wearing a watch, because I was wearing this watch. So now on to the watch. It's a 1990 Rolex Submariner no date, and as most of you already know, this watch is probably one of the most popular luxury watches out there. At give or take $5,000, this particular reference is one of the most affordable of all Rolex Submariner models currently available on the secondhand market, and I think that because of its price and the tendency of Rolex watches to appreciate in value over time, that this watch holds incredible value to the collectors. So let's get on to the specs of this watch. I have calipers here, and don't worry, they are protected with tape. So let's take some measurements. First we'll do the case diameter, and a lot of people refer to this watch as having a 40mm case, and that's more because Rolex kind of rounds it up. It's actually about 39.5mm with a lug-to-lug length of about, I think it's a bit smaller than that actually. Let me check again. Yeah, it's about 47mm lug to lug. Bandwidth being 20mm, as most of you already know, as you can see, 19.67. And with a thickness of only around 12mm. So this is also a holes case. Inside takes the caliber 3000, and since this watch is about 25 years old, we know a bit about the movement and its reliability, and in line with other models that Rolex has produced over here, the movement inside is superb. Now, because of its size, this watch definitely hits a sweet spot of being not too big and not too small for most wearers. And I think this is what makes it such an iconic watch and why so many people are attracted to it. Aside from the fact that, you know, people like James Bond have worn this watch, or at least an earlier iteration of it. So with that being said, I want to move on to the bad of this watch. And for the bad, I've chosen to talk about the things that may make this watch less appealing in the future to some collectors than the previous generation of Rolex Submariners. So collectors are a strange bunch, and when it comes to vintage watches, they love age. In particular, they love age dials with tropical dials selling for, astronomical prices. The glossy dial on this watch, however, I don't think it's going to fade in the future, and I think that might give it less of that aged look. Now, I mean, we don't know what the styles and trends are going to be in the future, so this might not hurt, the appreciation of this watch's value over time. But I think it's something to note. Don't expect a tropical dial from this watch. That being said, I don't think that the markers may fade either, and I think in Federico's video he also talked about that he was waiting for them to fade. On this model, since this is one of the earlier 14060s, you can see that the lume pip has started to fade a bit, and the bezel also, it's hard to see in this light, but it is fading. So because the lume pip has faded and the markers haven't, I'm not sure if the markers will, although it's possible that it could happen in the future. Another thing that people might not like about this watch is the amount of glare that it produces. Like you can see here it's got fingerprints all over it. But you can see here that the watch really does generate a lot of glare. So now let's move on to the bad. And there isn't much when it comes to this watch, but the thing that you always hear everyone talk about is the bracelet. It just doesn't feel like the more modern Submariner bracelets. Of course, it has the dive adjustment over here. And as you can see, I mean, it feels kind of tinny and pressed. And it's definitely not what you expect when you think about, a watch of this caliber. So, I mean, it does hold the watch in place, but it's not, it doesn't feel, like something that belongs on something that costs this much. So with that being said, that's basically my analysis for this watch. And I just wanted to end this video by giving a couple tips to those out there who are maybe looking to buy this watch. First of all, there's a lot of fakes out there, so definitely do your research on the watch. And, always buy the seller. I mean, other people have said this, and, you can't really stress it enough. You really do have to buy the seller when you're looking at a piece like this. I mean, box and papers are really important, but another thing to look at is polishing. You want to make sure that the lugs, haven't been polished too much, that they all match, that they're all the same size. And, for example, this piece, if you look at the bottom lug, it looks a bit more polished than the lug on top. And while that isn't a deal breaker, it can definitely help in the negotiating process and, possibly help you get a better deal. So with that being said, that's my review of the Rolex Submariner 14060. I think it's a great watch and definitely something that, can definitely add a bit of punch to anyone's arsenal. So what do you guys think? Do you guys agree with me? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.